There was a woman, Solitude. She was about 30 years old, and she was visibly pregnant. She, along with a military man named Delgras, planned a revolt. What they did was they lured the French into a fort and blew it up.
Take back control. Stop letting algorithms decide your news. Get uncensored history and real knowledge to strengthen your mind, body, and spirit. Watch ad-free content now at ineverknewtv.com premium. How has history perpetuated the false idea that enslaved people accepted their fate without resistance?
I always say that the South lost the Civil War militarily, but they won ideologically. And the myths surrounding the nature and character of Black people emanate primarily from the South, as Black people being criminals. We have criminalization of the race. As you said, the docility, the ignorance, the genuine acceptance of slavery by these people. And again, we talk in a couple hundred years. So at different points, you're going to see different activities. You'll see a peak of revolts, like in the 1700s, mid 1700s, all the way up to the 1800s, into the end of slavery. Well, what happened those first 200 years? Well, number one, people were dazed. They were traumatized. They didn't know what was going on. They're torn from their family. They're coming, and then by the time you get up to the third generation, you did have some Black people that accepted their fate. They believe, hey, I was a slave. I'm a slave. My parents were slaves. My grandparents were slaves. That's all they could see. They could not see it. If you would have asked a Black person in 1800 if they thought they were ever going to be free, they would say no, right? They didn't see it. It's just like when we ask Black people today, you think you're ever going to get reparations? No, you can't see it, right? That was their fate. So you're going to have all kinds of stories, but I believe resistance took place every day in a number of different forms. Slowdowns, poisoning. You notice in these old movies, before white people got ready to eat, they always had a Black person taste their food first. Fires. That's a big one. Setting things on fire. New York almost burned down. Montreal, they were just burnt. Of course, killing the masters, having these revolts. So they were running away. There are many, many, many forms of resistance, but we're taught in order to perpetuate our inferiority and subordination to white people that in general we are lazy, docile, and accepting of our condition. That's just to maintain us. But Black people fought from the very beginning. And I have on the map 263 revolts on land. Those are documented. Now, the problem is these are the ones that are documented in English, okay? But remember, we got the Portuguese, we got the French, we have the Dutch, So, doing research in those languages, in those areas, we could uncover many more. Also, remember, the whites did not want Blacks to find out about the revolts. So a lot of the information is not publicized, or they didn't put it in newspapers. So it's a process of uncovering, which I look at this project as ongoing. And everywhere I go, I try to go to the museums, talk to people to see if I can uncover more revolts. And Eric Taylor, in his book, If We Must Die, he documented 500, and this is just English speaking, 500 revolts on ships. All right. So there was probably, 10 times that amount. And it was because of those revolts that we actually have the end of enslavement. And, the history we're taught is, it was the white abolitionists who freed us. That was a part of it. But the major part were those revolts. They were expensive. People were dying. People were afraid. They had to come to some consensus.
Can you speak about Solitude out of Guadalupe?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one. Resistance.
Yeah, that's a good one. 1802 in Guadalupe. There was a woman, Solitude. She was about 30 years old, and she was visibly pregnant. So we could say maybe she was about 7 months pregnant. She, along with a military man named Delgras, planned a revolt. What they did was they lured the French into a fort and blew it up. And 400 Frenchmen were killed. And all her people were killed. But she was captured alive. And once the baby was born, it was given to her master. And then she was executed in their language, unimaginable ways.
The thing I always wonder about when I read and learn about these things is the psychology of white people in regards to what mind state can you be mentally, and even what level are you at spiritually to do this to another human being, even if you don't consider the human being a human.
They don't see him as
Why would you
humans.
do it to an animal anyway? Like, I don't want to harm any living creature to that magnitude. It may just be me, but like, when you learn about these things, like, what do you learn about their mind state? And
I don't. And you know, people who do DNA studies and they say if you look at the human body, you look at a white person, black person, genetically we are the same. And I think we're different. We are really different. But man, also you have to understand the historical circumstances that white people came from before slavery and what was going on in Europe and all the warfare and
very harsh and desolate environment.
yes, and the environment. And so they come from this warlike state. Not saying now, not letting Africans off the hook because, you know, Africa, there was warfare, there was a lot of competition. There was, in Benin, we see that some of the kings were buried with their wives. And yeah, so there were atrocities on both sides. But I can't explain it. There's a line out of the movie Pulp Fiction when Ving Rhames says, "I'm gonna go medieval on you." Remember that line? And that's what they did because I would look at some of these punishments and I would think, how did you even think of doing that to someone? Putting a metal plate on somebody's face so they couldn't eat, couldn't talk, starved to death. What? Chains around their neck so they couldn't lay down, bells on them so you could hear everywhere they go. It's just unbelievable. I can't explain it.
And